Welcome to In Between the Lines, and I'm your host, Savon Williams, with my partner, Joe Hamilton. Today, Joe, we have a lot to discuss. Starting off, first off, I want to ask how you doing.
I'm doing outstanding, brother. What better way can a guy like me be doing what you're talking about college football, playoffs, NFL heating up big time, the beginning or the start of basketball, college and pro. Can't do it, can't be doing any better. Got Skylar and Caden both playing basketball, my daughter and my son. So I can't be doing any better. And family, chopping it up with you, brother-in-law, my brother from another mother, no doubt. So I'm ready to chop it up, man. Doing well, man. How are you, my friend?
I'm blessed. I can't complain. This past week we was able to, or I was able to get a little coverage, and what we want to do is actually jump into it, discussing um, Gat, or who we know as Gat or Coach G, what they call it, Cristo Ray. I was able to see those boys play, and they actually was playing versus a team that he had a teammate, college teammate. One of his groomsmen in his wedding was actually the head coach of, came all the way from Florida, and I mean this game went down to the wire. But I don't want to get into it too much because we got coverage to go over. So let's go ahead and get into it. Now, before we jump into it too quickly, Joe, I want to ask you, I know you're going to play against a lot of friends or teammates, even family members. What is it like when you battling or you competing on the highest level versus people that you've known your whole life?
Well, you got to start off with the fact that you've known those guys or that guy, maybe even it's a girl when you're talking about coaching what type of high level of basketball or even football or even competing on the football field. One thing about it, Vaughn, you know for a fact that you're going to have to play your best game. It's going to come down to four quarters. It's going to be the little things, whether it's turnovers, whether it's substitutions, whether it's hopefully nobody get injured, but you do know that that person you're competing against, they know the game. That's what I
Mm-hmm.
love about it. They know the game. They know your ins and outs. They know what you like to do, and it's all about. I might not talk to you before the week of. I might talk to you right before the game and just talk about the family. Hey, how are your kids? How's mom and dad? Is everybody healthy? But goodness, man, when you get on that basketball court or that football field, there's nothing but who's gonna win. And then I've had the tendency when I played against my old friends or relatives, we all got into physical altercation. We know
Uh-huh.
we weren't going to fight each other, but for some reason, especially in the basketball court in high school, we started pushing and shoving. And soon after the game or the next day, our mom or dad or aunt and uncle, what you guys were doing, man? Y'all act like y'all were in the backyard getting ready to fight to where we have to, break y'all up or things like that. But intense game. And what I would say about that too, Vaughn, the week of practice, if you're coaching a game like our coach G and his teammate was coaching, your players are going to get fired up too because they see the intensity, they hear the intensity in your voice, and they know something is different about that particular ball game. So that makes it even more competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. So getting into it, this is Coach Ty with Coach McCants down in Pine Forest, and I believe last year they actually won their district championship. As you can see, this first photo is when they was playing at Spring Hill College in Alabama. Uh, the first photo actually it said a lot. Coach Gatson actually posted this, and it shows this picture means a lot to me. My hooping goals and dreams was cut short, but it opened a window for me to step into a role of coach. Sometimes blessings are disguised as misfortune. I feel like one thing in regards to Coach G is he got a sense of maturity about himself, a level head on his shoulder, and he certainly is a great leader. I've been watching him from when he was teaching kids or working with kids that was in somewhat of a group home to now where he had a team that wasn't so good to now they winning region championships, and just seeing the level of talent that he's producing and that he's actually working with, and he's helping them reach their full potential. I'm super excited for Cristo Ray. But I want to go ahead and get into now, Joe. Let me ask you: did you have was any of your teammates or prior teammates groomsmen in the wedding?
Uh, wow, goodness. I had not prior teammates, or not former teammates. Well, I take that back, man, Vaughn. Yeah, Charlie Rogers was a groomsman in my wedding. I had Jerry Caldwell as a usher. I had my cousin as a groomsman. So I had it all in the family and all competitive teammates. And those are guys you go to battle with. And that's another thing with Coach Ty and Coach G, Coach Gat, is the fact that when you go to war with somebody and you end up coaching against them or playing against them, it's just nothing still but love, and you excited to go against those guys. So anytime you can shed blood on the basketball court or on the football field with one another, it just goes. It feels different. It hits a little bit different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, let's tap in and just review this game quickly as we can see the beautiful In Between Your Lines logo. Okay. In between the lines here, I'm here with Coach McCants and Coach Gatson. We got a big battle today. Bragging rights on the line. I know you got respect for one another. What's one message that you got for your team coming in playing Cristo Ray?
The game will never be over. No matter how much you're up, how much you're down, just keep playing. They ain't never gonna quit. I know that for a fact.
Yeah. Coach Gatson, what's one message you have for your squad?
Hey, I got respect for my brother over here, hell of a coach, but I want bragging rights in the group chat.
For sure. Because I keep losing fantasy football, so I gotta win this.
Bragging rights in the group chat.
Hey, we here. I'm gonna keep you tuned in. May the best team win. Savon here tapping in between the lines. We here at Cristo Ray in the basketball arena. Right now, halftime is 29-28. Coach McCants brought them boys ready to play. They've been killing inside the paint right now. As this second half begins, I'm looking to see a lot more out of Cristo Ray, a lot more offensively from the wing players, but I'm going to keep you posted in between the lines. In between the lines here, Coach Gatson, 11. I don't know the player's name, and you can say his name, but you got on him during a timeout. You say, you my best rebounder. I need you to rebound the ball. How did you like the way that he just went ahead and responded?
He responded, man. Trent's a hell of a player. He's made huge strides this year, but Trent has to know that he's capable of doing that every possession. I keep trying to tell my guys there's no on and off switch, right? But he, like Ty said, man, he made a huge one when I need. He responded. He actually came in and started being more aggressive on the rebounding effort, and that's what we needed from a kid like that, right? I mean, and we just got to talk about zero, man. Jaden Crawford is the real deal, Holyfield. You know, he carried us on our back. We were struggling to get him going. It was a long day. We had a lot of stuff going on, but he's our D1 guy, right? And he showed us tonight why he's a D1 prospect. And, you know, we made big-time shots, but I definitely think Ty coached his ass off. He probably outcoached me in a lot of different areas tonight. I didn't expect nothing less. I mean, that's the type of game I wanted right there, right? I didn't want it to blow out either way. I wanted a game right there to see, you know, where the chips, and let the chips fall where they may, man. That was a great game.
Down to the wire. Coach McCants, let me ask you, why didn't you get the ball out? What's zero name? Jaden's hand, or try to double team.
So you look at the last possession before when we were down one. I called a running jump. You know what a running jump is? We went and trapped him and never made him pass it. Then he continued to go to the side, and we trapped him with a third person. We still didn't make him pass it. He spent off, and we let him score on 3 people. So it was the plan, get it out of his hands. That was absolutely the game plan. You look at that last play, we had 3 people close enough to him that was supposed to be trapping, and he scored on all 3 of them.
Well, your squad came in and showed so much effort, killed offensively on the glass as well as defensively. What is something that you can look forward to going out throughout the rest of this season?
That through about 3.5 quarters, we could play a pretty solid game. We could play a pretty solid game 3.5 quarters as far as rebounding, doing the things that we need to do well to win the game. And takeaways, just we gotta learn how to finish. Up 6, my guy gets a run out. We do the drill every day in practice. Rebound, relay with a guy chasing you. We go to the glass, but he tries to finish it over the front of the rim. Finger roll misses, which I saw was gonna happen. That was our chance to stretch out to 8 right there. Messed that opportunity up. Jaden actually missed a shot. I told him in the locker room when he finally misses, we have got to get a rebound. Rebounds right there. We don't get it. Kick it back out to him. This is a tough shot, but he's good.
Yeah.
He's really good, and he made it. He made tough shots all game.
He did.
We got to get that board. We're up 2, and it's a different ball game.
That's true.
Yeah.
This could have went either way.
Correct.
Either way. Any final words that you have? I know you got bragging rights right now. We got Malachi still in the show. But any final words?
Man, I'm super thankful, man. This has been in the works for years, man. It's been in the works for years. I'm glad I got my brother came up and we was able to compete. I'm glad I got my brother here to give us the interview, and I got my son here. All I'm gonna say is we changing the group chat to SHC Naj. That's the group chat name. Look out for it.
I gotta do this for the next month, man. But I want to finish with, man, I'm happy that we came up here and got a great game. We needed that. They're gonna be good in the future. From now, it's gonna help our strength and schedule.
Bragging rights. 61-60. Oh yeah. On the road. Yeah. Now, Joe, I want to ask you, does a loss hurt worse when you lose to a family member or when you lose to a teammate?
Oh, absolutely, it stings. I mean, you can say whatever you want to say about, if I lose, I can lose to my family member. It doesn't hurt that much because I love him and I want his team to do well, or he has a good team. It does not matter about the team. It does not matter about the prospects, Division One. It does not matter who has the best team on paper. You are expected to win when you're going against your relative, when you're going against your close friend. There is absolutely no doubt about it. And one thing that stood out to me, which just gave me chill bumps, is that when Coach Gatson said the fact that is the type of game he wanted. Fans don't realize that sometimes in the blowouts and sometimes when the game is over before the fourth quarter and then you have the subs in, and I don't have anything against the 8th man or the 12th man on the bench that they need time and they want to get in as well. But you want, as a competitor, especially your relative, especially your friend, when the crowd is anticipating it, when everybody's hyped up, you want a really, really good game. Now, obviously, it's going to get a little bit of, nerves. You're going to have a little growling in your stomach. Your palms get a little bit sweaty. But you want to be in that. You want to see how your team respond. You want to see how you respond as a coach yourself in those type moments. And also, how you lean and how you take away what your friend knows about the game of basketball. And I want to add to it as well, Vaughn. You can imagine down the road with any of these guys, Coach McCants or Coach Gatson, any of those guys have a matchup coming up, or they can't stop another opponent, or they're looking for a great defense to be able to neutralize a team that runs up and down, or breaks the press, or a pressing team. They say, hey buddy, call me back when you get out of practice, or I want to talk to you later on this week about how would you attack a defense of 1-3-1? How would you attack a high 3-2 trapping? So not only when you get a chance to play against those guys, you want to win your friends, but you know that they're such a friend of yours and a great, a safety net to call and going to give you some great advice about the game of basketball, about the sport you're playing, that can help you down the road against another opponent as well.
And that's one of the things I actually heard from the sidelines during the timeout. Coach G told his players, don't call that play. He already know it. So it's like that's something to think about when you have somebody that's close to you that's in the same position as you. You always bouncing off ideas or different strategies. So it's more so a chess match, and that's something that we witnessed I just got to give a big shout out to Jaden, number 0 for Cristo Ray. He finished with 8 3-pointers, 36 points. Like Coach G said, carried them and hit the last probably 7 or 9 points. Yeah, he's the real deal. You're going to have to.
And what year is he?
He's a junior. He's a junior. He's the real deal. 8 3-pointers out of all 8 threes was off the dribble. Nothing was easy.
And I like the fact that, he's getting coached by Coach Gatson and he's getting mentored by Coach Gatson. I'm not sure about his family upbringing, but if it's anywhere to where I think it is, everybody's going to have this kid go in the right direction. But Coach Gatson, the way he knows the game, where he's from, how he goes about teaching and mentoring young kids, he's going to steer this guy in the right direction. He's not going to be allowed to get the big head and think he's, God gives the earth or, better than, sliced bread. He's going to be humbled. He's going to play the team game. And I love the fact that that's going to go on Coach G's record as far as coaching a guy that's going to be a Division I player and molding him. And then a lot of more players going to want to play with him, just going to build his resume more and more and more. So I have a lot of faith. I don't know Coach McCants as well, but I do know Coach Gat, and he's the real deal. He's what these new age 2024 type of players and this generation needs, a coach that's going to show you tough love, but continue to coach you and develop you.
Yeah, one thing I can say about Coach McCants, he had his boys getting every loose ball, every offensive rebound. They hit 1 3-pointer the whole game, and like I said, they led the entire game. So they dominated the paint and just really was going to beat up everything in the paint and get after it. So he's really got a well-coached team there. Again, shout out to Coach G. Coach G. Gat has this year. We looking at state championship. For whoever don't know, I think right now I just seen something on where they announced on Twitter. I believe they ranked number 7 in the state this year in whatever division they are. So, but look forward to it. Cristo Ray, I'm one of the first to say it. This is the year for state championship. And this won't be the only year. But this is one of my favorite times. We going to go ahead and get into Joe Ham's habits for success.
Just his work ethic was so inspiring. And it, he really propelled us to the success we had just watching him work because, you didn't want to let Joe down.
I may be the leader, but I'm in this foxhole. I'm not outside pointing and telling you to do something that I'm not willing to grind about.
Hamilton, lots of time, going deep. Campbell,
and here we are, right here. This is where it started. A little nervous 18-year-old boy turned into a man, not only on this field with life lessons, but everything that was instilled into me. I feel honored to be back here again, man. It just gives me chills every time.
To the 20, foot race to the 10. Touchdown, Georgia Tech.
So, Joe, this is your time to shine. Speaking to athletes at this time, what would be, and this could be of any level, what is 1 or 2 habits of success they should have or they should be working towards to get to a level of success on the highest level?
Yeah, that's a great question, Vaughn. That's a great opportunity you allow me to speak into young kids, young coaches, older coaches, veteran players, veteran coaches. Because what I've learned is that you have to take self-inventory. That's the main thing, and you have to be critical and honest and vulnerable about your self-inventory. Yeah, you can have relatives, you can have friends, you can have coaches, you can have mentors tell you about what you should do, what you're doing well, what you need to improve on, and that's all good. But what are you jotting down? What are you looking over? What are you checking out? I found out in my research that the best players, they always watch themselves. They always self-scout. They always go review the film. And what's going to be very, very key to successful men and women in the sports or in the business world is that you review film and what you're doing well. We always review film and thinking that I have to change this or I have to change that. I have to do this a little bit better. Oh, that's fine and dandy, but sometimes things don't need changing. Sometimes when you review film and you take a self inventory of yourself, you'll be like, hey, that worked well. That's going well. Let me continue to do that. Let me continue to work out hard. Let me continue to get up at 5 a.m. Let me continue to outwork my opponent. Let me continue to sacrifice the things that's not going to do my body any good. But how do I gain that edge? Because I have to give myself a lot and everybody, a news flash sometimes. Everybody's working. Everybody wants to be the very, very best. Not everybody is willing to do what it takes to be the very best. So keep on, climbing the ladder. Keep on getting better inch by inch. And the only way you can do that is try to sometimes or somehow ignore all the pats on the back, ignore all the gratitude and accolades. Self inventory, making sure you're checking out yourselves. What can I do better? And never get complacent with where you are, whether it's at the top or at the bottom. You can always get better.
I absolutely agree, and just to add on to this, we can even talk about my nephew Skylar in regards to he's starting to see some accolades for sure. Yeah. Shout out to what co-offensive MVP as a junior this season. We got not even expectations. It's just what's going into the next year for me. I'm like, we ain't seen nothing yet.
Yeah.
But we got to continue working every day. The key is, like you said, not, obviously having gratitude, but understanding it's a whole nother level that we can unlock. But we only get there by working each and every day till we get to that point.
And I love your mindset about how you're going to treat your nephew, my son. Is very, very good, because you expect nothing but the highest, the very, very best, and somebody's going to have to be that kind of you know, kick in the rear end, so to speak. Skylar's never going to get complacent. Skylar's never going to stop working. But what he needs to understand, that there are a million people that want to be where he is at. There are millions of people that want a scholarship to Division I play teams, Power 5, SCS. What's going to separate yourself? All right, we're going to get enough. His mom is going to push him, but his mom is going to give him a lot of, real good, I love you, you're doing great, pat on the back. He's going to get that from his friends at high school. He's going to get that from some relatives. He's not going to necessarily get that from me. I gave him a big hug about Player of the Year, but I know I have bigger dreams for him. I have bigger aspirations for him, so I'm not going to let him lull or rest in these things as far as, I've made it. Yes, you've got a stepping stone. You've done well with you this season with the cards you've been dealt. How do you get better? It goes back to what I was just saying. How do you self-check yourself? Take a self-inventory, a secret self-inventory. What do I need to work on? That's what my dad said. That's what my uncle said, or my mom, or my coach. What do you think you need to do to get better? What about behind the scenes? Does your dad have to ask you to, go in the backyard? Does your dad have to ask you to, when are you getting your workout in? When are you throwing the football around? When are you watching more film? Or are you taking the initiative on your own to be the best, or the very best you want to be? Because we can only meet him halfway. He's got to take the rest of it and grab the bull by the horn to maximize his potential.
And Joe, that's what's so great about In Between the Lines is not everybody has a Hall of Fame dad that they can look to, but with you giving guidance and speaking to Skylar, you speaking to all the high school players or young athletes across the world, it's like, hey, these are the keys to success. These are the habits that help build you to the successful life or the successful career that you would like in this sport. But I think one thing about In Between the Lines is not just about sports with us. It's more so development into man and character and everything that goes in between the lines with that. Of course, sports plays a big role in competition and leadership, communication. All of those things are involved with sports, but all of those things are involved with life as well. And as we continue to grow, our audience will see that we have so much in store for them, and we are bringing them in between the lines of our life in regards to Skylar continuing this recruiting process?
Yeah, I love the way you put that, Vaughn. And there's no sugarcoating it, and we're not going to hide it at all about our. We're not going to do it. We're going to be straight up. We have a voice, and we have to be heard. We're talking about my sister-in-law, Tia Williams, got highly recruited. She's an athlete, a big-time athlete. Prairie View, 4-year starter there, 4-year starter in high school. I watched you play basketball in high school. You could have played football if you wanted to throughout high school. Very, very competitive. No sports like none other. I know my wife, your sister Kenya. She played basketball at a high level. Went to Georgia Tech on a basketball scholarship.
They
But
they
that's
say
just
Tim
some of it.
Duncan. They say Tim Duncan was Mr. Fundamental. Kenya was Miss Fundamental.
Yeah, no doubt about it. She's still that's still what she wants to do these days is talk fundamentals, and when you hear her talk, that's what it's all about. But outside of that, Vaughn, the degrees we have in this family, the outside the lines that we can talk more no more than just about sports. But let's face it, I like to say, and I've said it for a long time, sports is life marked off in 100 yards for me, which is the football field. But sports is, life marked off in whatever platform you play it in. It could be the basketball court. It could be the baseball diamond. It could be the boxing ring. Sports teaches a lot of lessons, and that's what we're going to try to do in between the lines is bring sports back to the day by day, daily activity of competing, adversity, unselfishness, togetherness, all those things. Just overcoming, being able to work with a team. And I'll tell you a quick story. When we talking about scholar, I'll say a quick story about when it comes down to one scholarship, the the distance or the level between one player and the next player, that has to change between all athletes. It's no longer you're getting recruited or going up against you're a 5 star and you're trying to beat out a 2 star. No, it's all equal. It's all equal now. How are you going to separate yourself from the next, student athlete, the next player? And it's just like you said, off the field. What's your character like? How many things did you volunteer around the community to do? What are you doing with your class? Are you the secretary of your class? Are you, the treasurer of your class? Are you doing things as far as boys and girls clubs? What are you doing outside to set yourself apart from just being an athlete? Because when it comes down to just one scholarship left and they have to choose between you and another athlete that's 5 star, they're looking for the GPA. They're looking for the guys that, you go to the guidance counselor and say, yes, he has high character. He hadn't missed a day of class. He's always on time. Yes, ma'am, no, ma'am type of students. Those are the type of things you're looking for in an overall student athlete. And that's what I'm trying to instill in Skylar and my daughter as well.
Absolutely. Well, Joe, we just, it is holiday season. One thing we want to discuss is what we are thankful for. I think this would be a great moment in regards to speaking about that. Thanksgiving just passed a few weeks ago, or maybe less than 2 weeks ago, and I think it's good to always show gratitude. So we'll start it off. What are a few things that you're thankful for?
You gonna laugh at me, bro?
What's
You're gonna
that?
laugh. You're gonna laugh, bro, because I have a new sense of being grateful now. I have a new sense of gratitude now. So I'm gonna make you laugh. I'm starting off, brother, with my 5 senses. I'm starting
Hmm.
off with the ability, man, to see, to hear, to smell, to taste, to feel. I'm starting off with that. I'm starting it off with having, all my extremities. I'm being able to just be healthy, jog, run, roof over my head, food on the table, not want for anything, maybe not having the best of the best, but I'm content. That's what I'm happy about, just the ability and just the wherewithal to be grateful where I'm at now. And yes, everybody wants to get better and climb and go to the next level. But I'm just grateful for the things, the little things today. This Thanksgiving, I was very, very thankful, and along with the family and all that. But to answer that question in a nutshell, right now, the 5 senses and the little things as far as food, water, and the necessities, I'm very thankful for right now. What about you, bro?
Uh, Likewise, I would say just one thing that I'm really thankful for is the position that we in, or the position that I'm in. I feel like a lot of times, whether it's throughout the year or the past years, people can find themselves, or I can find myself in a situation where it can seem like it's a lot, but I always know that God ain't putting nothing on your shoulders that's not something that you can handle, and he giving it to you for a reason. So I always take the challenge as, hey, we taking this project, or we gonna build it from the ground up, but we gonna build it as a skyscraper, and we gonna enjoy it, the process of building this skyscraper. It may take 10 years or it may take 10 months, but we gonna put in the work. And that's my thought process, and I'm just very grateful in regards to the position that I'm in, the things that we've been working on, as well as, of course, family, being able to see our family grow, being able to see Skylar from age 7 now in high school, and just having an amazing year, and seeing Caden getting so big and cheerleading and now in basketball. It's like it's just really, we can't be taking life for granted. And when I say we, I'm talking to our audience as well. And we certainly just want to be grateful to be able to get from point A to point B, or to have, warm water and things of that nature. Right. So like you said, the census for sure, but for me it's just like the position that we've been placed in. I'm very, very thankful for. And knowing that Thanksgiving just came and went, we must have to roll in regards to rivalry week, which came right afterwards. You being obviously Georgia Tech Hall of Fame, College Football Hall of Fame, UGA versus Georgia Tech game. It went into how many overtimes?
8.
8 overtimes. We was texting back and forth. You even called me during the game. I'm like, what is going on? For one, if you could explain the college football multiple overtimes rules, because I wasn't aware that after 2 overtimes, it pretty much just turns into back and forth 2-point conversions, rather than the old rules where you used to get the ball on the 25-yard line and actually be forced to score.
Yeah, and I must admit, I don't like it. I don't like it. I know what it is, and I know it has changed, and it's been like that for the past 4 or 5 years. But what happened about, I guess maybe 8 years ago, 2 teams went into 9 overtimes the old way they were doing it. Every time a team scored, you back them up to the 25-yard line, and you do it again. And teams kept scoring and kept scoring, or maybe not even a touchdown. One team might kick a field goal, and the next team got stopped and kick a field goal, so it's tied, and then it goes back to the 25 again. So they changed it. They changed it to where each team gets the ball at the 25-yard line. If both teams score, they do it again. If both teams are tied, just a field goal or even a touchdown, they tie after the first overtime. The second overtime, they score a touchdown. You must go for 2. You must attempt a 2-point conversion in the second overtime. Now, if that happens where you're still tied on the third overtime and the rest of the overtime until somebody has won, then you have to go for a 2-point conversion, which the ball starts at the 3-yard line. And that's not football. That's not football, and I get it. I mean, it's all about safety, player safety. They get tired, they can get fatigued, and the injured, the probability of getting injured is increased a little bit. I get it, but it's not. It's hard, and you're not really. You get bored, but that's not exciting. When somebody keeps on getting stopped with 3 yards to go, it's not exciting. What I would do, Vaughn, I would bring it back continually, bring it back to the 25-yard line, or even I would do this. Why not start from the 50-yard line? Because even at the 25-yard line, if you don't gain 1 yard, that's a 52-yard
That's
field
still
goal.
a field goal, yeah.
Yeah, it's a 52-yard field goal, so you're giving the offense an advantage right then, and the defense is going to be on their heels trying to have to move you back a little bit or send pressure or be more aggressive. So you pretty much, the overtime rules are pretty much catered to the offense, so to speak. Why not have them must get a first down or even 15 yards to get in the field goal range and then go from there? And I guarantee that'll shorten up the overtime period a little bit. But nonetheless, man, were we treated to a football game with Georgia Tech and Georgia, and I loved every minute of it. And here's why, Vaughn, because we were finally, I'm talking about the Yellow Jackets, we're finally doing our job again, our part again, as far as making it a rivalry. Rivalry week means that the game should be competitive, that everybody wants to watch. You're not having the point spread be 17, 19. Even years back, like 4 or 5 years back, it was 29 points was the spread in Vegas. You don't want that. So that's what I like more so than anything. Yeah, that loss hurts. It's a gut punch. The way you lost, being in control, up 14 with 5 minutes left. But at the end of the day, I think the rivalry is starting to get back to where it's not a given that the Bulldogs are going to win.
Man, it's crazy to think from 2 weeks ago, Georgia Tech in the driver's seat in the fourth quarter, up 2 touchdowns. You even text me like, it's over now. And
I did the Cardinal sin. I
man.
counted those chickens before they hatched, man.
And that's one thing that you generally normally say. But the most disappointing game for me, as we get into it, is Ohio State versus Michigan. This year, Ohio State, obviously, like a team that only money can buy.
$20 million to be exact. $20 million
on the roster. And Ryan Day understanding the importance of this game, being that we've lost 3 straight. Offense just horrendous. Offensively, we was horrendous. To lose that game, I was so disappointed. And even trying to get an understanding of the college football playoff, where I felt like, Ohio State should not have been rewarded. And again, this is coming from the biggest Ohio State fan, supporter. Yes. But I said I almost feel like I would rather fire Ryan Day and not be in the playoffs than come back and win the national championship after losing to a 6-5 Michigan team and losing 4 in a row to Michigan. Is disappointing. And at this point, I'm starting to think if Ryan Day does not win this national championship, he need to be let go. We need to go a different route, because for some reason we can't beat Michigan, and I'm getting sick of it.
You're not alone. You're not alone, Vaughn. And I'm not even talking about the faithful Ohio State Buckeyes fan, because they all agree with you. And I agree with you as well. I don't like necessarily calling for a man's job or a man's head, but he's had his opportunities. And there's no better opportunity than this year.
Right now.
I know Michigan is the defending national champions, and you have to go out and beat those guys. But they just lost John Harbaugh. They lost 16 seniors, including their quarterback. This year was a down season, and you were at home. In the horseshoe. Game day was there, or was going to be there with the hype. 19 points, almost 20-point favorite. And let alone, it was a barn burner of a game, but that offense, you only scored 10 points. It's almost like it's hard to say it. I was thinking about it before we got on, Vaughn, is that I don't know when I've seen called a coach a choker. I mean, we usually go to players and say, well, you missed a free throw, or you dropped the pass in football, or you threw an interception late when the game was on the line, and we say that guy choked, or the moment was too big. But that's what I'm starting to feel about Ryan Day, that he chokes in the big game as a head coach. I mean, especially when you go head to head with Jim Harbaugh, when you're in the national playoffs against or the semifinals against Georgia. Some of those play calls, some of those things that you could do in a Monday night quarterback type of situation, you just don't get it done. So, yes, your record is outstanding, but for the Ohio State fans, I don't think it's enough. They remember they remember Jim Tressel. They remember Urban Meyer.
Exactly.
They remember winning championships, not just having a good record and not finishing the deal.
And we don't mind giving them a call again if need be. Because we can't stand for what's been going on. Like I said, Big Ten. If we ain't had a Big Ten championship in 4 years, it's something wrong. And
It
because
is.
we not beating Michigan, we not in the Big Ten championship. So that's why how can we be national champions and not be Big Ten champions and lose to Michigan? But again, this is some expansion. I know the college football playoffs is more so in regards to excitement at this time. So I am excited and looking forward to the college football playoff. But after rivalry week, obviously we understand what's next to come when it comes to college football conference championship week. And it seemed like, Joe, everybody picked Texas, but I want to go here.
A lot of people have set up here. This game's already been played, and who won? Who's that coming down the track? It's the Mean Machine in the red and black. Ain't nothing finer in the land than a drunk up launches Georgia fan. Go dogs, go dogs, go dogs. Shake it. This Texas team is built with so much money. Steve Sarkisian hit over here. I picked against this Texas Longhorns team last week. How can I ever do it again? Well, we're in the Peach State, and the dogs are barking. Give me Georgia to win the SEC championship. Welcome to the SEC, Sark. It was cute. Bulldogs by
So Joe,
man.
when going into this conference championship, who did you like? Obviously, we know Georgia won the first battle versus Texas. We had our man Pat McAfee. Obviously, he had Georgia, but everybody else was picking Texas. And you can discuss, or I can actually go in to showing the highlights. But who did you like going into this game?
Well, I have to be honest. That's what we're going to do in between the lines. We're going to be honest. We're going to shoot it straight. I had Texas. Not with the fact that I don't like the Bulldogs and I didn't want them to win. I put that aside altogether. I thought Texas learned a lot from the first game. They were going to protect a little better. I didn't anticipate. In the first game, Texas gave up 7 sacks. The rematch, they gave up 6 sacks. In the first game, they had gave up 10 tackles for loss. In this game, they gave up another 10 tackles for loss. So I had Texas clean up those mistakes, and they did not. Even after Georgia lost their quarterback, starting a guy that hadn't played much the entire season, the whole entire second half. He played well. Offensive coordinator Mike Bobo, who I played against in college, called it an outstanding game for a backup quarterback. Utilizing his legs. And I forgot all about one thing, Vaughn. When you talk about a championship pedigree, most of the class of the Georgia Bulldogs, those seniors, redshirt seniors, they've won 2 national championships. Mm-hmm. They're the winningest class in Georgia Bulldogs history. They know how to win. They've won, I think, 2 SEC championships. So this stability, been there, done that, and let alone to talk about Coach Kirby Smart, how he motivates, how he gets his guys ready to play. He did some coaching. That 4th down, fake punt on 4th and 4.
We talked
after
about that.
Texas had tied the game up. That took momentum back right on Georgia's side. So I think coaching and those players that's been there, done that, allowed Georgia to take that victory and win the SEC championship. And that's something that I don't normally forget about. But I totally forgot about experience and been there, done that. And I got a little caught up in picking Texas. But who knows? Now a lot of people would say Carson Beck with that UCL injury. Skylar had a similar injury 2 years ago that kept him out the entire season in football, and especially as a quarterback, on your throwing arm, that's not going to heal easily. So one good thing about it, they got 3 or 4 weeks to get ready, or almost a month to get ready for their next game. And you don't want to see anybody go out or anybody lose their starting quarterback. But it's like the old saying goes, next man up. And trust me, Georgia's filled with 4- and 5-star athletes across the board.
That's one thing I was going to say. Georgia certainly has some of the best facilities as well. So, hopefully Carson Beck can heal. But let's get into this game. Show a little highlights.
Yeah, and that's the first quarter. And that's the first quarter. And that's Quinn Ewers giving it away. And I also figured out that Quinn Ewers, when going to get tough and you need to make a play, but you made one on this throw on an RPO slant route to tie the game up. But then Georgia comes back with the backup quarterback, and let's be more the team. Let's get those big boys leaning on Texas a little bit, and that's exactly what they did. And when you have defense like that, like Georgia does, when you can rotate defensive linemen, linebackers, and the next guy that comes in is going to be just as good as the guy that he replaced, that is a good sign going into a fourth quarter, maybe even an overtime game as far as being fresh. The fresher team came out in the fourth quarter, and that's why Georgia was able to win. And although Gunnar Stockton, the young quarterback for Georgia, tried to give the game away on a late interception, drive it down there where he could have gone up 2 scores or maybe a touchdown. A field goal couldn't tie it, and you had to score a touchdown. He threw a ball up that you never should throw up in the traffic without seeing your wide receiver. But again, with that experience from Gunnar Stockton, if Carson Beck cannot play, with that experience getting more practice as number one, you expect him to be a little bit better if he has to play in a playoff game.
Absolutely, and I certainly believe that he will be better if, in fact, he's starting or if he's called upon. And that he has the confidence to perform now that he's helped win an SEC championship.
But I tell you this, though, Georgia's not going to win the national championship, even with Carson Beck, if they don't finally put together a total team win. I mean, Georgia has the talent. They can produce. They've been there, but special teams, offense, and defense to hold up the trophy. Now, remember, you're going to have to win 3 games now. It's a little bit harder than just winning 2 games. You're going to have to win a quarterfinal game. You're going to have to win a semifinal game and a championship game to get there. So a little bit of luck goes into it. I know luck is earned. You prepare to have luck, so that happens in those big games, but injury is going to play a big part in any team, in my opinion, to hold up the national championship trophy.
Absolutely. And Joe, so we got a new segment, and the name of this segment
I can't wait for this, brother.
In Between the Lines. So how the segment goes is we'll play a clip, and then we're going to discuss. You let me know, was what it said in between the lines or was they out of bounds? So this first clip, we're going to go ahead. This is Mr. Mad Max, Vernon Maxwell, discussing and talking about one of his teammates.
Not fuck with this nigga Vincent Askew. Don't give that nigga a fucking dime. You hear me? Nigga owe me 10 racks. And I want my motherfucking money, nigga. Yeah. Alright, my peoples. I just had to get that off my chest this morning. But remember, all my NBA brothers, man, this nigga's calling all of us. He already beat me out of 10,000.
So, the story is Vernon Maxwell is talking about one of his former teammates, somebody in the NBA society that owes him $10,000. Is he keeping it in between the lines, or is Mad Max out of bounds for putting Vernon Askew's or Mr. Askew's financial business all out of the street, Joe?
Ooh, this is a tough one, Vaughn. I think he's in between the lines. I really do. I think he's in between the lines because I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he's reached out to Vincent Askew. He's tried every avenue he can possibly try to get his $10,000 back. He's sent him texts. He's called him. He's told some of the buddies that, hey, when you see Vincent, let him know, man, I need my money. I need my money. So at the last straw, Vaughn, for me, hearing Mad Max talk, Vernon Maxwell, the last straw was to put him on Front Street. The last straw for him to really get his money back is to try to embarrass him. And obviously $10,000 is not chump change to anybody. Absolutely. So I think that was one of his strategies to put a little bit of fire under Vincent Askew to get his money back. So I think it's in between the lines.
and as well as to make sure he's even looking out for other counterparts. Like, hey, I don't know what y'all doing, but he ain't gonna pay you your money back. So I agree. I think it's in between the lines anytime. Not even necessarily when somebody owe you some money, but when you know they ducking you for whatever reason, just communication is key. So for anybody to see this, whether it's a family member, friend, if you owe somebody some money, just always communicate with them so they don't be like Vernon Maxwell, because he looking for his money.
Yeah, and I definitely, as far as I love what you were saying right there, Vaughn, as far as for future and communicate, because I don't think that was Vernon's first reaction.
Yeah.
I think that was a desperate reaction that he tried to communicate and he didn't get the correct answer he wanted, and he had to go to those extremes. It wasn't his first, option to put this guy on blast. That was about the 10th option.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. I'm so happy that Vernon Maxwell wasn't in the middle of this Michigan-Ohio State battle. So I want to ask you, in regards to this flag planting incident, now Joe, you tell me, is it, for one, was Ohio State in between the lines or out of bounds for the way that they reacted? For me, I feel like they in between the lines. Y'all want to come here, you already know it's a rivalry. And Michigan, okay, they tried to get it off the first time, and then after the first skirmish, they tried to get it off again. It's like, no, we not letting that happen. We not letting that happen. It's not going down. And as well as you got to think about the seniors on the Ohio State squad that have never beat Michigan team. For you, was this in between the lines or was this out of bounds for Ohio State?
Man, this was not only in between the lines. This was smack dab right in the middle of in between the lines. They're all in between the lines, man. There's one thing about you fair and square beating me on the football field. I'm going to shake your hand before the game and after the game. But when it comes down to disrespect, I can't have you disrespecting me. I can't have you disrespecting what we stand for. You alluded to it, the seniors, our fans. You're trying to embarrass us now. And it's out of bounds for the Michigan players. It's out of bounds for Coach Sharon Moore, the Michigan head coach, to not really be trying to get his players off the field, because that's a bad look on you as the head coach. I think that's the worst look on Michigan and their players and their administration about trying to do that. You just don't. You just don't. And I really applauded later on Texas. Texas, when they beat Texas A&M. They beat Texas A&M that same rivalry week in a big game that they hadn't played in a long time, in 10 years, since Texas A&M went to the SEC. And Coach Sarkisian, the head coach of Texas, he was standing right on the logo of Texas A&M. He was making sure every time his player tried to inch the middle of the field, he was pointing them in the direction of their locker room. No, we're not doing that. That's not what our program is all about. We're going to show respect even in victory. We're going to have good sportsmanship. That's how you lead men. That's how you show men, and develop those guys of doing the right thing. So, yeah, I think Michigan was way out of bounds, and I think Ohio State, and you do not want violence, I'm not condoning that, but I think Ohio State was way in between the lines while reacting the way they reacted, that we're not going to do that. You beat us on the field, but you're not going to embarrass us in front of everybody.
Agreed. Now, our next... Oh, Lord. So we got your favorite America's team and you being a Cowboys fan. Now, this is CeeDee Lamb and Trayvon Diggs after a loss, spotted in somewhere in the club shooting a music video. Now, just a short clip, but Joe, you let me know, is this in between the lines or is this out of bounds? Party and just to contextualize the subject, partying after a loss, being caught celebrating after a loss, is that in between the lines or is that out of bounds?
For me, it's a bad look. Anytime you have a bad look like that, it's out of bounds. It's out of bounds. It's totally out of bounds, and you have to know your status. You have to know your stature. You have to know your role on the team. You got to know your superstardom. All eyes on you. You have to know the era you're living in now with camera phones, Instagram, Facebook Live, all this live things going on. It's just a bad look. And again, I can't be a hypocrite and say that you can't, that when losing a game, the sky is falling, or losing a game that doesn't mean you can't live and go and have a good time. I'm not saying that quick. You're over a loss that quick. What does it really mean to you? What does it really mean to you? Can you order some food at the house? I mean, can you bring some people over at the house? You're going out and you're making it look. So it looks, you know how it goes, man. Just the perception can be reality sometimes. You letting the whole Cowboy Nation, you have letting the fans that pay their hard-earned money to go watch you play and support you. Their perception is that you don't really care whether you win or lose. And if you do lose, you're going to quickly get over it. You've heard plenty of time, Vaughn, or you have been, and I know I have been a fan of a team, and I hurt when they lose probably more than the players hurt. So as a fan or somebody like that, to see you having a good time and smiling after a loss like you don't care, it's just a bad look, and I definitely think that was out of bounds. And again, when people would ask, and Vaughn, I would ask you, does it make it any better if they went out 2 days afterwards? I would say yeah. I would say yeah. If you let something sink in, if you let something calm down and you think about it, you watch film, and I mean, you getting over it, you trying to move on, and then you might want to go out on the tongue a day or two later. I think that's much different than going out the night of.
I believe that, going out the night of shows the respect level that you got for your coach, or even like you said, even caring with, everybody on the outside looking in gonna make it almost looks like you don't care whether you win or lose. That's it. But like I would just say Coach McCartney got an issue in his locker room because those boys been speaking out and they doing whatever they want, win or lose. And sometimes you don't see much of this happening in the Steelers locker room with Mike Tomlin, and even when it is, you see they get out of there. Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, they gonna get you out of there. So, I don't know what's going on in the Cowboys locker room. They gotta clean it up a bit. But I agree. I think this is out of bounds. And even as you speak about, I say all the time, I'm allergic. I can't losing. Just I can't sleep at night. I don't want to eat. So for them, I don't know. We certainly not the same in that standpoint. But let's get into our next one here. Now, this is a player reported that an Alabama linebacker was suspended from the team following a comment that was made on social media regarding the head coach's oldest daughter. So apparently the player DM'd or direct message his daughter, the coach's daughter, and asked if she wanted this horse, and followed by a picture. Now, I don't specify what picture, but this is clearly, for me, out of bounds. But how stupid can you be? And I don't want to just beat up any young athlete or any college player, but I think when you have examples like this, we gotta shine some light on it, because it's other players that might be in this situation or might find themselves thinking about doing something as bonehead as this, and we need to shine the light on it. But for you, of course, was this in between the lines or out of bounds?
It's out of bounds, but it's got to be context to it in form of, did this coach get a little bit too comfortable around his players or with his players? Because how in the world does a player think he can get away with DMing a head coach's daughter, and that the head coach is not going to find out about that? Are you the star player? Do you have some dirt on this head coach and his daughter? For you to think about even getting away with that Or are you in that head coach that cool? Are y'all that cool? Is he that, one of the guys in the locker room, or does he a player's coach where you want to talk about that you think you can do those type of things? Is this a joke to you? So I am sure, it's out of bounds, but I want to know his relationship with the head coach. For him to even think that he can get away with that without this coach calling him in his office and saying something to him, because that is disrespectful. That is almost something that you got to know about. That that's wrong. Just anybody knows that's wrong. You can talk to a 12, 13-year-old little league, a teenager. They know that's wrong, and that it's out of bounds. It's just the bottom line. I'm trying to almost think about context here. Why would he think about doing that? There is no reason. It's out of bounds.
Unless he was spiteful, for mad at the coach about something, and even at that point, it's still out of bounds. I don't want to dive into the topic too much, because I think that whole specific topic in regards to athletes actually using their head is going to be in an episode in the future for sure, where we can really dive into it. But yeah, this is certainly out of bounds. It's unacceptable. And just think before you hit send. I would say that would be one of the biggest things that I would tell any athlete at this point. And lastly, there was a lot of hype or interesting things surrounding Coach Prime and whether Shedeur and obviously top 5 pick, possible future Heisman Travis Hunter should be playing in this bowl game. And this is what Shedeur had to say.
Like guaranteed top 5 picks. Back in the day, everyone played in the ball game, but these days it's rare.
Yeah, we're playing for a purpose at the end of the day. It's for those teammates that didn't have the seasons that they wanted to have, and they still got one more opportunity. So we all got to show up and show out. This is my last time playing with this type of receiver core, which is amazing. You got different speeds, different everything, because, the next level is not too much 10 personnel like that. It's more 11, 12 personnel. So I would say it's the final time to take 90% of the snaps, in 10 personnel, having all those different type of weapons out there. And I really want Jimmy to get in there and have his game. So that's definitely what I want to target the most.
So, Joe, in regards to finishing the season strong, and even the response of saying, hey, I want to stick it out with my boys, of course, do you feel like that they making the right decision? Is this to keep it in between the lines, or are they out of bounds going against this BYU team, playing for bragging rights and team morale for next year when they could possibly risk injury?
Yeah, they can possibly risk injury. No doubt about it. But it's in between the lines. And the reason why I think it's in between the lines, because I don't think those guys are even thinking about it. I don't think it was a decision to sit out at all for those guys. If it came across those guys' text messages or voicemail, or even in person, somebody is saying that, like an agent, like an advisor or somebody, they would quickly dispel that. Why I say that, Vaughn? They're football players. They want to play. And I love it so much. Shedeur Sanders talked about teammates. He talked about Jimmy Horn Jr., whose dad is in prison, who probably is going to play the last game, not many touches, been injured throughout this entire season. He wants to give the best. He wants to have his best game for somebody else. And those guys that play all their lives, like Shedeur Sanders has been playing football since he's been 7. Travis Hunter, all he knows is playing sports. How do you think those guys will feel? I know how I would feel to sit back on that set Friday or Tuesday, whenever the bowl game is playing. What am I going to be doing? I'm going to say I'm getting ready for the draft, going and working out. No, I can work out still for the next 2 weeks at the facility like I did the last month, get ready for the bowl game, practice with my teammates, and then go out and have one last hurrah and hopefully go out with a victory. And that's what football players do. Now, I would say this. I would be out of bounds, Vaughn, if I did not say I understand, or I will understand anybody that does not want to play. I do understand that. I do get that. I would be out of bounds if I said, nah, everybody must play. I'm not going to be that type of guy, but I think this is in between the line. Those guys are football players that wants to be out there with their football team, and they're not thinking about injuries. And I add real quick, most of them and everybody want to protect the bag. They don't have anything in their bags. When you're talking about Shedeur Sanders with a 6.2 valuation as far as NIL money, and Shedeur Sanders right about 4.2 million. So they're gonna make more in the NFL, but it's not like they're broke in college right now.
Absolutely. It sure ain't the same from the early 99 to 2000s. The game has changed.
Definitely not the same.
Now, we want to discuss, quite frankly, it's official. This is the college football playoffs. Now that conference championship is over with, these are the brackets. And Joe, do you think that the committee got it right? And what games or game are you most interested, especially in this first round, taking a look at?
Well, I think the committee did get it right. I want to give kudos to the committee for big boys and ladies, or a lady, I think, is in that room under the 13 people that make these decisions and pick the 12-team bracket. Because it's not easy to leave a brand like Alabama out, which a lot of talk was about that, the right thing with SMU and putting them in, losing a close conference championship game to Clemson. But what's going to stand out to me is the blue blood matchups. I like blue bloods. Yeah, I do like underdogs, but I want to watch the blue bloods play against each other. I'm looking at Texas against Ohio State. Texas against Clemson, and I'm looking at Tennessee against Ohio State. The big boy, put your big boy pads on. The Big Ten versus the SEC. The SEC versus the ACC. You have all those, and you have the wild card, the big bad guys that don't want to get into a conference at all, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish, who they think they're so much different than anybody else that they're going to be in the college playoffs each and every year because they're not in a conference. They just lose one game. They're going to best teams each and every year. But here it is what I dislike about this, Vaughn. I dislike the fact that Boise State and Arizona State, they have a bye. And I know it's the rules that was going into this season that if you won your conference, the 4 top conference champions, the 4 highest rated teams, they're going to have a bye. But I think when you finally get to that bracket and you finally get to having the 12 teams and the conference champions, I think you reschedule it. I think you reseed it after that. I think you reseed because there's no way you can tell me that you feel that Boise State is the number 3 seed or the number 3 team out of those 12 teams. Or Arizona State is the number 4 teams out of those 12 teams. Yes, I know they won the conference, but winning the conference to me should only get you in. It should get you in the 12-team playoffs, but I reseed it then or I have another seeding to reseat those 12 teams, and that's how you go from there. Because I don't think that Arizona or Boise State belongs in the top 4. And then that'll have, just imagine, it looks like Oregon has a tougher road to winning a championship and then the number 1 seed. Then somebody coming out of their conference in Penn State. Penn State has an easier road to get to the national championship than Oregon, and Oregon is the number 1 seed. That's the whole thing I talk about, reseeding after you get to the conference championship and having everybody finally get into 12. I think you should reseed it after that.
Well, certainly a lot of times we got to go through, being that this is the first one, we got to get the kinks out before they can make the adjustments.
Totally agree.
Like I said before, I was so pissed about Ohio State losing. I didn't even want to see us in the playoffs, but rightfully so. We had a great year, so I'm expecting for us. I'm not going to do the pick'ems. We'll do that next episode, but I'm expecting for us to bounce back and really show what we made of. And
real quick, Vaughn, I mean, just check Oregon out. I mean, Oregon is the number 1 seed. And their first game is going to be against Tennessee or Ohio State.
Yeah. It's not going to be easy for them, but at least they got to buy. You know, that's the thing. At least they got to buy. You know, I feel like everybody that is in the playoffs should be happy to be in because you had a lot of teams that came in losing, or even the number 2 Georgia. It looks like they got the sweetest road, but just like we said at versus Georgia Tech, they was 2 weeks away from and a few minutes away from dropping that one. And that would have even changed seedings up. So it's going to be excited. This is going to be our first 12-team college football bracket. I'm excited to watch. I'm certainly excited as we continue to tune in. And I think, partner, this has been a good wrap-up of In Between the Lines, as this has been one of our first full episodes. I want to give a big major shout-out to Coach McCants, as well as Coach G at Cristo Ray. Me and you gonna get together, and I believe he said this January, possibly be able to see one of the games, and we can do some live coverage there. It's certainly been a pleasure, and I want everybody to understand that when we talking about In Between the Lines, note that nothing is truly out of bounds, and adversity is an opportunity for us to overcome. So everything in life is in between the lines. It's not just necessarily sports, but we got to look at obstacles as an opportunity to get better. Anything that you want to close us out with, partner?
Yeah, I would like to just echo what you're saying as far as we grow, and we grow. We don't lose. We just learn. We don't fail. We just stumble, and then we get right back up and we go. That's the most positive things. And to everybody out there listening, to you, bro, as well. And I'm also speaking to myself. Let's not compare ourselves among ourselves, right? I mean, we might want to aspire to be at the very, very top, but don't look to the left and the right and want somewhere somebody else is at now. You don't know what they went through to get where they are. Their journey is not like our journey or the next person's journey. You just fight your journey. You continue to go on your road, your direction. Applaud. Don't be a hater. Be a congratulator. Don't be, all up in your feelings about somebody else's success. That path is not your path. Don't compare your path to somebody else's. Your journey's ahead, and God's got your path, and He's going to direct it. So let everybody do what they're doing. Don't worry about them. We have our direction. We have our ordering steps, and that's what we're going to follow. And like we always say, we'll meet everybody at the very, very top, man.
And the best is yet to come.
No doubt.